What sort of content did you consume this weekend?
I finished.
This is going to be a very cut and dry podcast this week without Ross.
What content did you consume this weekend? I watched Stranger Things, the new season.
And you loved it?
No, I didn't. I thought it was like really bad and boring. Besides the last episode of this volume and the one scene with Max and getting swept up. Are we okay to talk spoilers, or do you want to keep it clean?
Well, okay.
I'll try
Spoiler alert. You can. So we did the spoiler alert, so you can do whatever you want now.
Okay,
And you should.
I'll try to keep it brief, but yeah, it's just not that like artsy and like mature of a show for them to have to go this slow and so like nuanced with so many characters. Mm-hmm. It's like on one side they're trying to do this like gory 80s throwback film or piece, and then the other side they're like just having a lot of dialogue and like a lot of multiple storylines with Hopper and Eleven and the people in Hawkins. I'm like, don't care, boring.
Yeah.
I understand that they're trying to tie it together, and I respect that. I know they're trying to do like a master narrative, but they could probably just do it a little faster, and it would probably be more efficient. I know we were just starting an argument around season 3. Was it better? I just thought it was more fun.
I thought season 3 was terrible. I almost didn't continue watching the show this season because of how bad season 3 was.
Such a turn from seasons 1 and 2, respectively. Mm-hmm. So and this one similarly took another big turn. Mm-hmm. I haven't enjoyed this turn as much.
My qualm. You ever think people say qualm too much?
There's some words that people throw around where I'm like,
it's one of those words that kind of worked its way into language, and now you just hear it all the time.
But then you say, what's a qualm? And then they're like, what's a qualm?
Well, my qualm.
Whose qualm? Whose qualm is it anyways? Welcome to another episode of Whose Qualm Is It Anyways?
My qualm with season 3 was that the antagonist in all rights sucked.
The Mind Flayer?
Well, I don't think that one was called the Mind Flayer. I think it was called the Spider Monster. I don't think it had a name. Because the Mind Flayer was season 2 with the big guy with the things and the...
Yeah.
Season 3, you have the possession type of thing going on. Mm-hmm. With Billy is the
vessel.
The vessel of the antagonist. And then the other antagonist is Russia. And I'm just like, anytime there's a Russia storyline, it kind of sucks.
Unfortunately. We learned this from Indiana Jones. Yeah. Wait, no, there was the Nazis.
It was Nazis, and it was awesome.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So you have the Russia storyline, which is stale, in my opinion. And that led to this season, Hopper being a non-factor in the show. And he is the strongest part of the show.
Sure.
And he's not there at all, doing anything important. And he probably will be in like the last episode. So, because there's 2 more episodes coming out. One of them is 1 hour long, and then the finale is 2.5 hours long.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was. I thought it was going to be another 7.
Oh yeah, there's 2 more.
Why? Okay, quick business person tangent. Mm-hmm. Do you think that they split it up purely for like production reasons? They wanted to get it out. They had a deadline. They're like, okay, we'll get the first 7 out and we'll finish. They're like in post on the others. Mm-hmm. Or my thought, Netflix is losing monthly subscribers, and there's probably a pretty large swath of people are like, okay, I'm going to get Netflix again.
Yeah.
because I want to rewatch, or I'm going to watch Stranger Things.
Because it's pretty perfectly spaced out to have to keep
So it's
multiple
coming,
months.
Yeah, it's coming out. I think it came out like June 1 or 2, and volume 2 is coming out July 1.
Yep.
So,
You might be onto something there.
or honestly, it's probably just like both. They're like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
If we did this, we could make. Cause isn't that funny that just that decision probably make it like $10 million if there's just like 1 million people out there who are getting Netflix again, and that's not a stretch. That's like, how much does Netflix cost a month? Like $8? Is it still like $8?
I think it's more, especially if you are working with any sort of like 4K television. I think you have to get up it maybe. Wow. But I'm not sure because I'm I'm a part of the problem that Netflix sees.
You like have
password sharing.
Yeah, family plans. What do you think about this, Ross? Okay, wait.
You guys would not believe what Ross looks like today. He's like, there's like one eye and it's like on a tripod. It's really weird.
Yeah, Ross looks kind of amazing today. Ross isn't with us. He's in Charleston.
Yes.
Do you want to give his address, like his hotel or Airbnb address?
I can look at Find My Friends.
Yeah, just for all you Charleston heads out there that love going to Charleston and going to Valor, you can find Ross in Charleston at 55555 Charleston Lane or King Street.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head.
You can find him strutting up and down King Street for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Told him he's got to go to Zao Bao Biscuit.
For sure.
That was my only recommendation.
For Charleston?
I mean, I'm not saying there's not plenty of good stuff in Charleston.
Oh, no, of course. What's
Middle State?
Second State.
Second State. So sorry, Second State
Sorry,
and
Second
Middle
State.
State.
Yeah.
If either of you are offended, but you're both great.
Yeah, send your concerns our way, please. Middle State, I think they're in Colorado, right?
Yep, in Denver. I went there last summer.
You went?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where else did you go to Sweet Bloom?
No.
No.
I think
you
I
go to
only
Huckleberry? Is it Huckberry or Huckleberry?
It's Huckberry, and no, I didn't. I went to Hudson House.
And you loved it?
I did love it. It was great. I think the aesthetic was similar to something we would do. There are elements that remind me of what Dunwoody will be.
Wow.
It is a full-service bar as well, but they have a really, really cool booth seating in there. And it's like a sit-down spot. You like walk in and there's a host, and they're like, "Do you want coffee to go, or are you hanging out?"
And if you want coffee to go, you just go somewhere and order it?
I think you might order it with them.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
could be wrong, but
That's a wacky world. I could see us doing something like that one day, but right now, we're not doing that.
Proud Mary in Portland is that vibe as well.
They have a host and all those like bar stations.
So you know what their bar looks like.
It has like all those in-counter brew heads.
Yes.
And then like each bartender is a barista, and you just like order and they make your drink right there.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, but I know that you speak to a host once you walk in.
For some reason, you said you speak, and I was like, oh yeah, Proud Mary's from Australia. So do they speak to you in an Australian accent?
But it's in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
That was just a stupid thought.
Isn't it funny how that works?
What?
I'm just kidding.
Accents. Swan?
This is the only shot of the bar I'm seeing here, but look at all those EKs, dude.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
There's another shot. Can you see it?
There,
You can see them. There's one right there. There's another one.
What do you know what they are? Are they Mavams?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. I know that it's not Mod Bar.
Gosh darn it, might be Mavams then. That's remember I was showing you that the other day.
Oh yeah,
Brandon was saying, I think they're from Seattle, so that might make sense.
Yeah. So I sat at the bar there, me and David Funk. Yeah.
Shout out to our first guest.
Yeah, I went out to Portland to get my Q certification a while back. I failed there and had to finish out my testing in Greenville. But
Greenville.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, isn't that something? At Allies facility. Here. But while I was out there, I was able to hang out with friend of the show, David Funk. And friend of the show, hasn't been on the show, but would love to have him,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Kent from Voila.
Sheridan.
Yeah. It was amazing.
You don't get much more.
And Brooke.
Brooke. Una?
And Jordan.
Was Una in Tummy?
Yes.
In Tummy.
I think that they told me while I was there. Maybe. Yeah. Great.
You don't get much more like coffee hipster than you had to take a trip to Portland to take a coffee certification.
Well, I didn't have to.
You wanted to.
As far as the timeline, when was convenient for us, etc.
That's true.
We were like in the midst of building out or about to start building out our cafe, so I wanted to go ahead and do it.
If not now, when? You know.
That's a good point.
Hey,
Ethan.
Speaking of coffee, I brewed up two.
I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
I haven't had my butt first coffee.
Your butt first coffee. Look alive, player. So shout out to longtime listener Greg. Comes in the cafe. He took a trip to Bolivia and got us a bag of roasted coffee from Bolivia.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. So always a little harder to find like a nice drinking roasted bag in origin country. So I'm excited. I've had it in the cafe. Obviously not obviously, but it's on the more traditional side, but really easy drinking when I had it.
You gonna de-stratify it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick which one. I'm just going by smell here.
Is the Bolivian washed?
Bolivian, it's a Java is the variety, and it is washed. Care to comment on, you asked me if I was de-stratifying it. This is the Coffee Sometimes podcast. What is de-stratification? Why is that a necessary part of brewing and consuming coffee?
Well, by no means am I not a proponent of de-stratification, but you are the de-stratification daddy. De-stratification daddy. I'm going to change your Instagram handle to that.
The de-strat daddy. Remind us to revisit the fact that you run an Instagram for me, because
Deal.
that's a good...
Hey, cheers. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
The podcast the way it was meant to be. Ethan and Riley.
Just simple.
Oh, lukewarm. Man, weird. The plates on the crafts aren't really like keeping it insulated.
I know, weird. Okay, this is not the Bolivian.
Oh, okay.
This is a coffee from Bellwood. It was here because someone bought it, and I wanted
Sam, right?
Sam Stripes, as we call him now. Fun fact: we've had 3 Sams that have worked a part of this company, so you gotta go nickname. But let me smell this one. I think this might be the Bolivia. This smells more funky. I kind of wanted to do it a little more blind so that we could have some fun. There it is.
We're about to look like chumps, dude. I think this is the Rwanda.
Right. No. I think I agree.
Right? That's Bellwood.
Yeah, it's got a lot more funk, a lot more
Yeah.
bite. Totally. Well, what a pro to this Bolivian then.
Yeah.
That I thought it was a coffee from Bellwood.
For sure.
On smell.
I mean,
You've heard of On God. Have you heard of On Smell? On Smell.
yes. Back to de-stratification real quick.
Please.
So when you brew a cup of coffee, this is a great tip for brewing at home as well.
Totally.
Think about the process of the brew and how it works, because proper extraction is just a mixture of under extraction and over extraction to create something beautiful. So what you have when you start brewing is a bunch of under extraction settles at the bottom, and then you brew differently extracted coffee in layers over each other. I don't know the science of how each one sits, but I'm pretty sure under extraction is heavier than over extraction. So it does stay at the bottom.
Yeah, if I could speak into that too, you have the category of extraction and like what kind of flavor compounds, but you have the conversation around strength. It is scientifically seen with your eyeballs that when you're brewing coffee, the water in the beginning is pulling out way more, like a way higher percentage of coffee than your later water. You can see
Call that TDS.
TDS, total dissolved solids. So when you see an espresso come out, it's going to be way thicker, way darker right at the beginning, and it'll slowly lighten up. And then by the end,
Until it tiger stripes, and then it's perfect. You
yeah,
just
then
cut
stop the shot.
Yeah.
Stop the shot. And if it's at 26 seconds, you got a sweet shot.
Sweet shot.
Sweet shot. I'm just kidding about that. But yeah, and that also means that thicker, heavier stuff will also be more on the under extracted side, and it will stay on the bottom. And then that over extracted, weaker brew is much more susceptible to stay on top. And this really only probably doesn't matter if you're brewing something that has so much like force coming out that it's like
Churning itself.
Churning itself. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to my knowledge, we don't do anything like that. I don't even know what that would be.
Yeah.
Besides like an immersive brew.
I guess you could debate espresso, like going into a cup, but even espresso, like if it sits for any amount of time, then you're going to want to give it a stir.
Totally. Because
just tastes much better. And that's the thing. A/B stuff, whenever you're behind the bar, it's kind of wild to see the results of what a stratified brew would taste like next to a destratified brew.
Another cool way to see this played out, and if you're being a skeptic right now, you can do something that we picked up from Chris Baca that he probably picked up from someone else called the salami shot, where you have 5 different cups and you start making an espresso kegs.
It's kegging time.
It's kegging time. And you put your first cup under, you let 5 seconds worth of espresso come out, switch the cup, 5 seconds worth, switch the cup, and you'll just see with your eyeballs a difference in volume and a difference in color, texture, smell, flavor, the whole 9 yards. That's what you were talking about at the beginning, is that a well-extracted coffee is the culmination of under extraction and over extraction in essence. But it is fun to taste that like middle where it's like, oh, okay, this third cup actually kind of just tastes like what the whole thing is going to taste like. Coffee's crazy.
Love coffee.
Is this the most we've ever talked about coffee?
Yeah, it compared to every other podcast combined already.
When we haven't even started talking about these coffees yet.
Yeah. So I had a story about buying specialty coffee at Origin.
Whoa.
So my experience with people bringing me home specialty coffee is usually poor. This is an exception. It's a good coffee for sure. I was talking to some folks at Firelight whenever we used to toll roast there when we first started. Not toll roast. We used to rent their roaster when we first started roasting. And they were telling me about an experience they had where someone brought them a coffee home from Origin, and it was incredible. It was like perfect. And they were like, we have to buy this coffee. And so they go down this huge rabbit hole of like, how can we get in touch with this farmer? How can we figure out how to import it and do all this stuff? And it was a sequence of events and a lot of emails sent. And then they found out once they finally got in touch with the farmer, he was like, yeah, you can import our coffee through Cafe Imports. And then they did, and it was great. But just all that to say, it was funny that something happened and they put a lot of effort, and then the importer they already used had the coffee.
That's how it goes, man. I mean, I want to talk about these coffees at some point, but there is something to a little bit of that debunking world of how an ethical supply chain can operate in today's world. Obviously, there's always room for improvement and always goals to be set and always more ways to be transparent. But I mean, at least in my limited experience, when we first started roasting coffee, I was like, oh yeah, so we're just going to like talk to a farmer and he's going to like FedEx us his bags of coffee. But on the contrary, there's like a lot of systems in place. There's a lot of people in place that are along the way, and for better and for worse. I feel like that makes making the first and last people like make a decent amount of money harder, because anytime you get hands on something, the price changes. And I think the whole kit and caboodle is like 30 hands touch like a coffee bean before like a barista brews it, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, how was that experience for you of like realizing that we talked to someone in the States whose job is like connecting with farmers and exporters and processing mills and wet mills, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and just to be totally clear, it's really different from even just from importer to importer. Like, we have a great relationship with Balzac, and that is where we import the bulk of our coffee. So while, a chunk of the coffees, I mean, we have no like farm connection. I mean, like, my salesperson, Ricky, has shaken the hands of the farmers and gone there and even laid out opportunities for us to do the same, which we plan to do. So we, in the future, can have the opportunity to step foot into Guatemala and buy an entire lot. And that one is just the Valor lot. And we pick it on a cupping table. And
Which is crazy.
Yeah, we've got plans to do that. Honestly, just as a small company, you gotta make some waves before you get to that point. And I think we're almost there as far as being able to buy a quantity of coffee that would work.
And we've done a cool thing I always respected, in which we try to get coffees year after year. I know we're probably on our 4th year this summer, which is kind of crazy. July 4th, right? Was the mark. So we're a month away from celebrating 4 years of roasting, which is super cool. But, harvest season after harvest season, it's been fun to try to reconnect and go back and have like it's business, but to have like a long-standing relationship or partnership with a farmer, even though the relationship is like, hey, we buy and try to represent your coffee well.
Yeah, for sure. Costa Rica La Pastora is one of those that we've had many times. Kenya Nairi Hill Estate, we're about to have it for probably the 4th time. So yeah, it's always
Guatemala,
fun.
Finca Medina.
Yes. Those sorts of things make buying coffee and keeping track of inventory and planning ahead a good bit easier on me, and then in turn Sam, who's taking over that role. We've been working with a new importer. I've only purchased one coffee from them, and it's going to release this week. They're called Unblended, and they have very, very close ties to Colombia. So all of their relationships are super, super, super tight. Like the first Zoom call I had with them, I was talking to a representative, Barry, in North Carolina. I believe he's in Charlotte. But he was on the line, and then so was one of their representatives in Colombia. So it was the 3 of us chatting about coffee, and that was great. And their coffees are very experimental, and I, again, would think that we would have some opportunity in the future to kind of step foot in the country and do some cool stuff. It's just about, getting to that point because you have to buy coffee in such quantities to make that stuff happen. And for us, we can't buy a container of a freaky single origin coffee. If we're going to buy a container, it has to be for a blend component.
Right.
And so that limits our possibilities. But it's cool whenever people are willing to collaborate with you and, maybe buy a container together or something of those sorts.
Yeah, so you're saying container, and that is a thing that's bigger than a sack of coffee. Every country has its different, like, standard sizings for coffee sacks. But I think the average is around 140, 160 pounds?
Per sack.
Per sack.
Yep. Yeah. So I would say, most countries are using 69 kilo sacks. So that's 152 pounds.
And then is a container, it's just a standard size?
You're probably asking the wrong guy, honestly. I would assume that there's multiple sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, even, just seeing shipping containers, you see multiple sizes.
Totally.
But I think the standard container that you would order, again, we sound like such chumps right now. Not
Hey,
the numbers right off the
We're just
dome.
the common man chump,
It's hundreds of sacks of coffee. So think 200 to 400 sacks, which is, transparently, we're not far off in that number from being able to do that and keep it within season for our blend components. Mm-hmm. But like I said, for if we're talking about our Rwanda that we offer, we're not move anything close to that realm.
And if you're listening to this, buy the Rwanda. Okay, it's my favorite coffee.
It's almost gone.
Yeah, I know. Get it while you can because it's awesome. And shout out to us drinking Bellwood's Rwanda too. I feel like I'm falling in love with that origin again. Mm-hmm. So, just quick math. Say a sack is 150 pounds. You got 200 of those. 1,500. Is that 3,000 pounds right there we're talking about? No. Or is that 30,000? Oh, crap. Math.
What was your numbers?
I was just going to multiply 150 by 200 just to stay on the meager side.
Yeah, that's 30,000.
Yeah, 30,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of bean.
Yeah, there's a lot of coffee in this world. That's pretty crazy. But what do you think about this Bolivian Java we're drinking from? I just think it's crazy. I'm enjoying this cup, and it is roasted in Bolivia.
Yeah. I think a good part of coffee and coffee enjoyment is perspective. It's just all about the perspective. So this is definitely not the best coffee I've ever had.
Totally.
But we're sitting here. We're hot on the mic on a podcast. And I just took that down, and it was really good.
Yeah. Definitely easy drinking.
Yeah. I'd say a little bit roasty.
Totally. It's got big, roasted peanut, chocolate energy.
Yeah.
But the surprise for me, a little green apple.
Yeah.
A little snap.
There's some snap.
I thought it was going to be way more singularly dynamic. It would just be all chocolate, all sweet. But
get a pretzel kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Around the holidays when people give you those pretzel sticks dipped in chocolate.
This is just taking a chomp out of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe pretzel stick dipped in chocolate, crush up a Jolly Rancher, kind of sprinkle that on there.
Yeah, a little bite.
Yeah.
Woo-wee. Yeah, well, hey, thank you, Greg, for sharing this coffee.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
I don't...
You want to hold that up to the camera? Let them see it.
It looks like the name is over here. Greg said the fella who was roasting it, I don't know if he's Bolivian, but he was from Denver.
Oh.
And I guess he just moved down. I don't want to get his story wrong at all because that's all the information I have. But
Great.
It looks like it's Elevate Coffee, Java washed, Bolinda, Caranavi, Bolivia. Check that out.
We've got some really exciting coffees on the table the next couple of weeks.
I heard something about a carbonic macerated orange washed coffee.
Anaerobic.
I don't want to. I know I'm just putting you on the hot seat all day today, but what the heck does that even mean, man?
That's a great question. Why don't we turn to our friends at Google?
Yeah, let's get some internet on this because there's I feel like, and we can chop this up more or less, but anaerobic, I feel like, okay, everybody knows about processing. First off, everybody knows everything. There's just this world of like, there's washed coffee and there's natural coffee. And then I feel like a few years ago, maybe many years ago, people were like, oh yeah, honey processed. Especially I know Costa Rica was a big proponent of the honey processed world. And, if you're getting into coffee and you taste something like a honey process or a like sun-dried natural process, it's just going to have a lot more like fruity funk and like dynamic flavors to it. And some people hate it, some people love it, just because, you're kind of putting together, it's still the same coffee fruit, but like the pulp sugars, and that's affecting the seed itself. And so, you got people, I think kind of in your camp, you just like washed coffees. You're more of a purist in that regard. And I respect the heck out of that. Obviously naturals and honey processes, quick tangent, is just when usually you're taking off the skin, but there is some amount of, pardon my French, fruit mucilage on the seed during the drying and fermentation process. That causes the seeds to get really sticky and it looks like they're covered in honey. There's no actual honey involved in a honey processed coffee. I think that's probably a common misunderstanding, and I get it. I probably thought that as well. But now I was just prefacing all that for our listeners that unfortunately probably didn't need to hear that because they're super smart. But to say that I feel like naturals are crazy enough, but now the new thing almost is like, give me that anaerobic natural. Mm-hmm. Don't even try to give me a regular natural. And the difference between just a regular natural would be that typically the coffee bean or seed would dry with the fruit on just like a raised bed or like just an open air space. An anaerobic natural would go through that process in a airtight concealed tank where the pH balances are able to be measured so that you can start your process when at your leisure, I suppose, or at your preference. But we're talking about orange washed, which I'm not sure what that means. We're talking about carbonic macerated. Mm-hmm. Hear that in the wine world all the time, so I'm interested to see how that relates to coffee. And we're talking about anaerobic.
Yeah, so carbonic maceration and anaerobic fermentation are very similar. Okay. So anaerobic environment, or at least oxygen restricted environment. So maybe not anaerobic, but oxygen restricted.
Interesting.
So I wanted to get a little bit more scientific of a look, so I went on over to Royal New York's website where they talk about this. And so they are similar. Anaerobic, traditionally, you have the coffee depulped and then added to the sealed tank where it can ferment. So mucilage, the honey, is left on during that. Skin is not.
In an anaerobic, typically?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
And then carbonic maceration, you have everything left on. So that environment gets pretty fermenty, pretty funky, pretty juicy. That's borrowed from wine culture.
Skin and all.
Yeah.
Is in a carbonic maceration process.
And if you look up carbonic maceration, all the first things you see are going to be related to wine.
Interesting.
So this coffee is a carbonic maceration process. So the pulp is left on, oxygen restricted environment, fermented. So you have it in the tank, gets really juicy. Coffee is taken out, depulped. Once it's depulped, they then put it back into those fermented juices. That is the orange washed side of it.
I wonder where they got orange from. Maybe all that skin and juice gets orangey.
And then it might even be akin to an orange wine. Think about that.
Where you're kind of reintegrating skin in the game.
Yes.
Wow. Hello.
So anyways, that coffee cupped so well. So I'm really, really excited about it. It'll be in the black box, so a little bit pricier, but it won't be quite as pricey as the geisha. Yeah.
Wow. Which was, and then geisha was a honey processed.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. That'll be a great.
Yeah. It's fun to see all these processes coming up because, I mean, obviously it's fun to see new varieties and whatnot, but I feel like a turning point might have been reached around like the geisha time, and then people making other varietals, which is still always fun to watch if like a new hybrid varietal pops up and like tastes freaky. Mm-hmm. But now you can add processing to the mix, because for a good while it was just like washed and natural, then honey, and then you kind of had those three sitting around. And then, as you were saying, for me, I didn't see a lot of cleanliness coming from the natural sides. If you did, then it would be like a pleasant surprise.
And it'd be probably really expensive.
Yeah, so the most consistent processing was washed. But now that you're getting these experimental processes that are done really, really well and really scientifically and thought out and whatnot, where they can control oxygen and pH and they're measuring all these specific variables, I am enjoying the results.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for nerding out with us, Riley and Colson and guests.
Yeah. Is this the Rwanda?
This is the Rwanda. Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't want to get in over my head here, but shout out to Bellwood. I think this is the best coffee I've tasted from them.
Ooh.
I really enjoy it. Maybe I'm just in that kind of mood today. I'm coffee nerd mood, but yeah, I don't know if they still have this on the shelves, but I would snag it. Oh. Now we're on Bellwood's website. Looks like they have a Mexican geisha. Piercing.
That's tinny.
That's tinny. But crisp.
I'm pulling up this Rwanda. I'm gonna see the.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, wait.
It's not on the website.
Uh-oh, I wonder if that means that it hasn't made it to the website yet, or it is no longer available. Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys, either way, but you're kind of getting like, is it Tim Ferriss kind of put this on the map, the idea of the kiss of death?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
That's
if
funny.
you get mentioned on the Valor Coffee Sometimes podcast, yeah, you're selling out of whatever we just said.
That's funny. Yeah, to press into that. So Tim Ferriss, popular podcaster. If you're listening to this podcast, odds are you've heard the name.
If you're listening to this,
yeah.
Is that in the other Venn diagram? It's like sports, specialty coffee, like lame entrepreneur stuff that we're also into.
Well, I'm mainly saying that of just if you go onto a podcast app, I feel like odds are that one will just be on like the homepage somewhere.
Still, Tim?
I mean, it pushes listeners.
Dang, I didn't know he was still chugging.
He's interviewing the Matthew McConaughey's and the Bill Gateses.
Man, well, hey, I just heard back from Melissa from Little Wolf Coffee.
No way.
And she said she'd love to be on the podcast. So, thanks, Melissa.
To Melissa.
We'll see you soon.
That's way bigger than Bill Gates.
Way
For
bigger.
me, I would rather, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I guess from the sense of publicity, we may get a bigger audience if Bill Gates was on the show.
We don't do it for them. We do it for us. Suck it, Ross. You wish you were here,
Ross.
Bro. I did get a text back from him that I haven't looked at yet, so we can play the game. What are you thinking? Or Ross, what are you thinking? But we'll do
He'd
that.
probably make this face.
Yeah. Also,
stay tuned for What Are You Thinking, Ross?
Yeah, we'll get to that section. 3-4 hours?
Yep.
We got a lot of content to work through. Quick shout out. I don't know if people are going to be able to see their web store page, but their like specialty bags are really cute.
Yeah, they are cute.
I love that type.
Good job, Tommy.
Yeah, I hope that was Tommy, because that's awesome, Tommy. You've outdone yourself. It's reminiscent of some things that I can't think about right now. They're not coming to mind. I have a Sidetrack shirt that kind of that type up there looks like that, but I like the simple colors too.
It's like Funkadelic,
yeah, Funkadelic,
like Shagadelic.
Shagadelic, baby, like really slick stuff, raw stuff.
Yeah.
But this coffee, by the way, is amazing. It's super. One of the tasting notes was limeade. I'm getting that.
Absolutely.
Super floral and really. I think my thing about Rwandans lately is they're so sweet. It always has a really complex sweetness, like the one that we have, the BC Mountain. You guys are gonna love this. Such a sorghum vibe to it.
Oh,
It's a dark, complex sweetness that just leaves you wanting more and more and more, and you keep going back to the cup to get
Until
it.
you're just shaking on the ground.
So you're like, I've had 8 cups of this Rwanda BC Mountain in 30 minutes, and I have to go get another box.
Yeah, so I get a strong nougat type of thing from this. Like I just feel like I just like it's just chewy. It's chewy.
It comes in liquid form, but you're biting on it in the mouth.
I do that. Do you do that? Whenever you drink something, Michaela used to give me the hardest time about it.
Could
I'd
you
just like take a
display?
sip of like a LaCroix and I'd be like,
Oh, okay. Here, I'm just going to...
you're going to love it.
I'm not going to think. I'm just going to drink it and see what happens. I do the swish.
Yeah, you had a little bit of a swish.
I'm a swisher. Swisher till you die. Okay. I also brewed... I didn't brew this. I pulled it just so we could have 3 coffees to taste because 2, what? No, 3, right? This is our new Honduras La Unica
Yes.
traditional natural process.
Yes.
Lame. Where's the anaerobic? You know what I mean, people? You know what I mean?
Sounds lame. Doesn't taste lame though. I think it tastes amazing.
Woo! Plum? What?
This
Grape? What?
you could absolutely call a direct trade relationship.
Oh yeah, we didn't. I wanted to talk about frickin' I don't know. They go by many names, but
Finca Territo.
Finca Territo,
Yeah.
Alma, Copen. What's that relationship like for us?
Copen.
I thought they sometimes went by someone with Copen, but I could be wrong.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who's to say?
Yeah. Who is this say?
Oh,
So they have they're an importer slash they wear many hats. So they have a farm called Finca Territo, also Finca La Unica.
In Honduras?
In Honduras, but they are based in the great state of Georgia. So it's excellent on many levels. I mean, we get to shake hands with the owners, and then you just have such detail about exactly what's going on there. I love that whenever you bring on a coffee and someone just sends you like a full stack of all the info you need with like pictures, just like great detail of how the coffee's processed, of the story behind it, and that is definitely an example of that. Another big pro is that we can just go pick the coffee up, and I do that on my way to work sometimes. I'll just get in the truck.
cut some costs.
Yeah,
Get in a Silverado.
that's right. It's kind of a different truck every time because my dad just flips trucks.
Shout out to
He
Brian.
doesn't flip.
The trucks and have to buy new ones, but
No, he would never.
more of a buy sell
That's right.
kind of thing.
Yeah, every time I pull up there, they always give me a hard time for the different vehicle that I'm in.
Really?
Yeah, it really hurts my feelings.
Finca Torito, if you're listening to this, keep it up. We got to stay humble.
Yeah.
We got to stay humble over here at Valor. But this coffee, it really is amazing.
Yeah. That is another coffee that just came out this past week and is making its way into free throw as the secondary component.
I have a feeling that free throw is going to be the most, like, exactly what we've wanted it to be this like rendition because that has so much of what we're looking for already, in that you get a lot of funk, a lot of fruit, a lot of dynamic flavors, but it's still like really round, really like balanced. It's really impressive. And the anaerobic Ethiopia Worka Sakaro before that was just an absolute freak show of a coffee. And I was really blown away that we put it in free throw. And it made it super fun, but it was way more like probably modern and more progressive than what a typical free throw rendition would look like.
So yeah, because before that, when it was Finca Medina, it was 70% Brazil. The main component in free throw at this point is pretty much always a Brazil, because it really does exactly what we want it to.
Exactly. Which is
a one-dimensional, relatively one-dimensional chocolatey coffee. So chocolatey and then often nutty, has like a peanut butter vibe. And we just import coffees from Brazil that accomplish that task. And then the natural can bring the fruity side to free throw. So when it was Finca Medina, we were rolling with a 70-30 blend of 70% Brazil, 30% Finca Medina. And we bring on Worka Sakaro, and it is so fruity that we had the thought, are we going to have to bring this to 90% Brazil, 10% Worka Sakaro?
it just dominated the cup.
Yeah. And so we settled on 80-20 and went with a little bit more of that nuance than we prior had in free throw. And it was great.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's one of the best iterations we've ever done. But with all that being said, we are keeping that spirit a little bit and going to leave a more fruity approach. But with this coffee, it's going to be 75% Brazil, 25% Honduras natural. We're also changing the Brazil to a coffee we've used many times. It's a pea berry, Sul de Minas.
Sul de Minas. There's something I really like, the natural processed Central American going in free throw. Makes me happy.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, what a coffee forward conversation today.
So free throw, Honduras, that orange washed Colombia. We also have Rwanda phasing out, which will bring in Kenya, Nyeri Hill Estate.
Oh, man.
Which is just such a good coffee.
Now, speaking towards our retail construct, will that be going in the light blue box?
That's right, yeah. So that's our funky menu slot.
The funky menu slot.
And it will do a great job there. It's not crazy funky, but it definitely has some of those qualities. It's a little bit tomatoey, but I really, really enjoy that coffee, especially on our Loring, because that roaster just on those more acidic coffees does an excellent job.
Interesting. Maybe nails that inner bean development, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Keeps it from getting like vegetal in a underdeveloped way, but maintaining the inherent qualities of the coffee.
Yeah, it just makes the acidity so clean where you can still retain those lower development time percentages.
Totally.
Which, speaking of, Sam has been kind of leaning away from strict percentages within development time ratio.
Care to comment? What does that loosening up look like in the roasting space?
I think that he's borrowing the idea from some people, and apologies if I'm mistaken, but Black and White's roaster, her name is Kat, I believe. She is very transparent about how she roasts and often posts her curves on Instagram. And so I think maybe he saw that and kind of wanted to lean into that a little bit. But now, rather than whatever coffee he's roasting, rather than sticking to a strict, like, this is a Kenya, so I'm going to do 18%. He's looking at it more of like, I'm going to develop it for this long to get this quality out of it. And that goes against that Scott Rayo mentality of, that being one of your most important metrics in your roast. And it's kind of a more almost traditional way of roasting. But I've heard of other people doing this. Like I know that Tim Wendelboe doesn't mark first crack in their roasts. So they also are not really measuring development time ratio.
Yeah, I slightly understand. I slightly don't understand. And maybe we can back up a little bit just to put some terms around it, because you were saying development time ratio, DTR, which is same thing. And then you said like 18%. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when a coffee begins to crack, which heat, blah, 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 it is like starting to expand. And you can literally hear the coffee cracking, almost like popcorn. Does the roaster, him or herself, like mark that?
Yes. Yeah. So some people do it by the audible sound, because what it is, it's when a coffee is taking in heat, or it's not even coffee. It's just what do you want to call it? A
thing.
Yes.
Thing.
You have the heat going in, and your roaster might say that the environment, or the probe that's touching the beans, it would read for first crack, it would be in like the 370 to 390 degree range. So your bean isn't actually that hot, because it's also picking up signals from the environment.
And the air,
that's 370 to 390 Fahrenheit.
The air is going to be hotter than the beans.
Yeah, for sure. So the coffees are taking in heat. That's called endothermic. So when first crack happens, that's when the coffee bean it goes from being endothermic to exothermic. That's when the water vapor within the coffee expands, and it physically causes the coffee to crack open. So let's see if we can.
Do you think they roast their coffee till first crack? I'm just kidding. That's a joke, guys. That's a joke.
I think Bellwood roasts their coffee to second crack.
Yeah, they're doing Full City Plus.
You see that? I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but that little crack right there, because that mark is on the bean in the first place, because unless a coffee is a pea berry, which it's kind of funny, I just picked up a pea berry in there.
Hello, watch out.
Coffee sits together like this within the parchment that's inside of the bean. So that you have this little line that runs through it, and that line is where the expanding and crack happens. So first crack is the metric that people kind of, it's for a lot of people, it's I'm almost done roasting this coffee after first crack. You just got to take it a little further. And that distance that you take it further is what is referred to as development time. That word, that phrase is very incorrect. That is not incorrect. Where you're developing the coffee. You're developing the coffee throughout the whole process.
Whole time.
So, but it is what it is. And so we call it the development time.
Sure.
Development time ratio is a percentage number that is the time spent in development time, aka after first crack, divided by the total length of the roast. So a lot of people have different metrics here. Some would say that your coffee should be 20 to 25%. Like a lot of Scott Rayo's opinion is that coffee should be between like 22 and 26%, I believe.
Which is pretty...
That's pretty developed.
Pretty long.
Yeah. But I get it. And then you have some other people, more Nordic style, or, Nordic lending its way to underdeveloped a lot of times, where you have the 15% to the 20%. A good chunk of our single origin offerings traditionally have been in that if we're going we don't go lighter than like 17.5%. And, for single origins, for like a chocolatey central, that could be more around like the 20% range. And then for our blend components or workers' comp, you could be looking at more towards 25.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but with all that being said, Sam is kind of deconstructing that a little bit and lending his way towards times rather than percentages within the development time.
Times rather than percentages.
Yeah.
Like time in the developmental stage.
Yeah. And so, he's saying, regardless of how long I roast this coffee, like, a coffee roasted, and he runs some tests and again, the best thing you can do here is just taste and see what tastes best to you. And so so if he had like a Kenya and he roasted it for 12 minutes, what does a Kenya roasted at 12 minutes with 2-minute development time taste like next to a Kenya roasted at 11 minutes with 2-minute development time? Because the DTR on the 11-minute roast is going to be a higher percentage than the 12-minute roast.
Wow. This is some nerdy content. And we got some smart people on the team like you and old Stripes.
I don't know if I would call me smart.
You figure stuff out.
Maybe call me fart.
Yeah, you're not too smart. You're more like fart. Dude, come on. You're a genius. You're a problem solver. That's it's like our smarts come on display when there's problems,
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're entrepreneurs. Okay, wait. Do you want to play the game or do you want to do something else?
Let's play the game. Let's play the game. Let's play the game.
I texted Ross and I said, Ross, what are you thinking about?
So interesting.
Yeah. I said, Ross, what are you thinking about right now? And I didn't look at what he said.
Okay.
I have no idea what it's going to be. What do you think Ross is thinking about on his second day of vacation in Charleston?
I'm going to say he's thinking about like his dry wet signal for his guitars or something.
Dude, please, I know this isn't the game, but what the heck is a dry wet signal for a guitar? You got me like, dude. I'm like Tim Allen over here.
Again, people like I'm thinking about the people who have asked for Ross's rig breakdown, like Josh Cappuccino.
Oh, Josh Cappuccino. We got to meet your needs,
He's going to roast me for my bad explanation of this. Just kidding. Josh Cappuccino would never.
He's too kind.
It's true. So, you have a guitar. You run your guitar into a pedal board.
Okay.
Which is your effects.
Yeah.
A pedal board is they do make units where it's just one unit with a lot of effects on it. Ross would never.
No.
He has multiple different effects pedals. And often people will run at the beginning of their signal what's called their dry effects. So think overdrive.
Okay.
Their compressor might be up front.
Okay.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then out of their last dry effect, they split their signal. And then one signal will go into their wet effects, delay, reverb, chorus.
Wow.
The other signal just goes to the amp. I don't even think Ross runs dry wet, but I don't know. I was kind of saying that tongue in cheekly.
My goodness, man. I know about pedal boards and different effects, but I never knew that they were categorized like that.
Oh, yeah. That's all. People are all about their signal chain. And then, some people do signal chain differently to get a different sound. Wow. Because if you were to put like an overdrive after your delays, that overdrive would overdrive the delay signal. Yeah. Which would be freaky.
Dude, I got to talk about something to make me look smart on this podcast. So Frisbee, right?
Yep.
When you're throwing the I'm just kidding. I don't want to talk about Frisbee. Okay, if I'm gonna guess what Ross is thinking about, it's super small, but I was like, is he thinking about where he wants to get breakfast today? Because I text him in the morning. He also might be thinking something about like,
He got sunburnt yesterday and he hurts. So he's thinking about his sunburn.
okay, that's your second answer. My second answer would be like how grateful he is for rest and
Yes.
that God wants humans to rest.
Yeah, that sounds like Ross. All right.
I'm not just.
Can you remember your password?
I just woke up and Rachel's asleep and I want coffee. You?
You were right. Kinda. He was thinking about breakfast.
And that's the real question, guys. Please tune in. Is coffee breakfast?
I bet you Ross is at Second State right now.
Iscoffeebreakfast.com.
I'm going to look at his location.
That's creepy, dude.
He likes it. Ross, if you like me looking at your location, smash the like button.
Do you think Ross will comment on this podcast because he wasn't a part of it?
He won't listen to it.
What? Dude, I haven't watched our vlog yet.
Do you know anything about this trip? Do you know where he's staying? Obviously, don't say it, but
555. No, I do not. I know nothing about the trip.
that's where he's at. So
Oh, it looks like he's still
he's still at the hotel.
at the hotel.
Hotel stay. Who knew?
I bet it's a credit card points thing, right?
Maybe. I mean, I just feel like Airbnbs they're out. You know.
What? Okay, well, that was my next question. Is Airbnb ever going to get in bed with a credit card company?
I think they might dabble in that.
Because that would change everything.
Like, I think that and it's not a credit card company, and I could be wrong.
Thank you for prefacing.
I think that you can earn Delta Sky Miles on Airbnb purchases.
If you use a certain...
Yeah, credit card or something.
That world is beyond me.
Or no, maybe you go to Delta and there's a link that's like, click this link and you'll earn Delta Sky Miles on your Airbnb purchase.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got any trips coming up?
I might go to the beach next week at the end of next week. Next weekend, I guess.
Because is your dad down there working on that house?
That got delayed because of some crazy stuff.
You have to talk about it off air.
Yeah. Basically,
Or subscribe to our Patreon channel to hear the full conversation between me and Riley about his dad and working on houses.
borrow that from Breaking Points.
I borrowed it from, and Channel 5, that thing I like, the Andrew Callahan.
Yeah.
They're like, our full video is already out on Patreon. But
man.
I'm like,
Yeah. My sister got a place that is like way bigger than what they needed, but they got it for a good deal.
dang.
And so I could go, but I also have a closing.
Real estate.
But the closing might be getting moved, which would allow me to go.
And you're not allowed to move it because you're like trying to close on a house and make money.
I'm not allowed to move it because I want my clients to get their money as soon as possible.
Totally.
But my clients are also going to be on vacation and need to move it. And if they can't move it, then they're going to have to sign power of attorney to me.
So you do it.
So I'll have to do it, and I would have to be there.
But
preferably, it will get moved before, which is all if the buyer side can line up their financing. I mean, their financing is lined up. It's just like getting the final touches.
Wow.
And if the attorney is available that day.
Dang, son.
Where was your closing?
My closing was right next to the Marriott Hotel off Windward Parkway in a office building.
Who was it with? Weissman? Campbell and Brandon?
I don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
Maybe tune into our next podcast where Ethan reveals his closing attorney's office.
Oh, man.
I don't remember. They were super nice. And then the guy, the closing attorney, saw my name. He's like, do you do you like own Valor? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's my wife's favorite coffee shop. And I was like, dude, throw me a bone on this closing net. Not that he could help with anything.
Yeah.
He was a great closing attorney. Shout out to him. Dude, did we do a podcast since we went to Buffalo?
No, and we do want to apologize, right? Don't we want to apologize?
Guys, can we just say that we're sorry?
It was a crazy few weeks. We got back from Buffalo. And then
Why did we go to Buffalo?
For Mikey's wedding.
Mikey,
It was
Buffalo.
amazing. Mikey, if you're listening to this in Europe,
We know you are.
we love you.
Do podcasts go to Europe?
I don't think so. I think the internet actually as a whole kind of like, there's like a wall.
Yeah. Like iron. What was this? The
Iron Curtain? Yeah. The Iron Curtain of America.
The EU has like a croissant wall.
Yes.
It's like, no coffee podcasts. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were there, Buffalo, which was fun.
It was fun.
It was a lot of the team got to go see Mikey get married. And big shout out to the team that stayed to run the cafe.
Absolutely.
Gavin, Sophia, Slam, Joey C. That was awesome. And they held it down strong.
Oh, yeah.
A Lego man did fall in the EK, but they got it out. They got it out. He survived.
It didn't take it down?
No, it didn't take it down. They were like clipping him onto stuff.
Oh, man.
Like throughout the day. It was like a little Harry Potter. He's still around the cafe, but someone who will remain nameless put him close to the EK and he fell in.
And the Lego man and the EK are okay.
They're both gonna. No, the EK is trashed.
Okay, but the Lego man's good.
They just threw it on the ground, but no, everything is fine. Shout out to a couple spots in Buffalo that were nice. Remedy, House,
Yes.
Public Espresso. Great shops.
Yeah.
I had a really good time at both places.
We went to that bar. And the guy really loved us.
We went to a bar and the guy loved us.
Yeah, we got free shots.
Oh yeah, Mizuta Chow's.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
it was Amaro.
Yeah. I had sake.
I had
Sake,
I
sorry.
had a yuzu sake that I actually forgot the name of, but I was like, I don't drink that much, but when I do, maybe I'm gonna go buy some sake because this is awesome.
It was really good. And Ross had a highball with Japanese whiskey.
And he said it was the best one he's ever had.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, dude, I just put it in a cup. And Ross was like, hey, you put things in cups really well.
And then he was like, you guys order well.
You must.
Shots?
He was like, you guys in the industry? And we were like, well,
actually.
actually, we're in coffee. Give me a break.
All right. You want to wrap it there?
No, dude, I just want to keep talking about Buffalo. Yes, I want to wrap it here. This was.
You always want to wrap it.
I know. I'm always
Let's
like,
split it into two parts.
yeah.
Next, we'll talk about Buffalo.
This one's definitely going to be in 3-4 parts. How long did we go? Do you mind my
It's a
asking?
little over an hour.
We did it, dude. Ross Schmoss.
Yeah.
Is what I say.
I think Ross is the reason these podcasts are always like 3 hours, you know?
Well, he's a thinker, similar to David Basilia. They are explorers of the mind. Okay, and you and me we're the common man.
Yeah.
We're just like
Just so relatable.
let's talk about Stranger Things and development time ratios and get the heck out of here.
That's stuff everyone wants to hear about.
We kind of just like cut talking about Stranger Things midway through, and that's fine because nobody was tuning in to listen to that, but we wanted to talk about it. And I'll watch the last 2 episodes, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Best thing about it this last season was the song that what's her name? I said it earlier. Max likes. I was like, this is a good song.
It's just kind of funny how they're just like, we're going to revive a song.
Yeah, like this song is going to be the song.
Because you know it's on the charts right now.
It's got to be.
Quickly, Obi-Wan, you tuned in?
Yeah, I got to. It's something my wife will not watch. It's something that I am not like highly prioritizing.
Let's be clear. It's not good
Sure.
yet. It probably will be good by the end.
What's up with that? Like,
It's just clickbait. It's just clickbait in different forms. That's what these high budget things are now.
It's all about the trailer.
Yeah. So, it's a perfect example of like, I don't know. I just think Star Wars being misled in ways. It's just like they can't do the mainline story well anymore.
And
Because I think Mandalorian's great.
oh yeah,
I think Boba Fett was great.
I feel like people loved Rogue One. I really liked the Han Solo.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people throwing shade on that, but I liked it.
Yeah, but now we're touching a Skywalker story, which is Obi-Wan, because, a Skywalker is in the story.
Sure.
I guess multiple Skywalkers are in the story, huh?
Look alive.
And it's just like, I don't know. It's like they can't give you what you want. And that's my issue. So spoiler warning here. Obi-Wan cuts himself off from the Force. The exact same crap that Luke did in The Last Jedi. And in The Last Jedi, whether you like that movie or not, he, that was a newer story element, like cutting yourself off from the Force. So you have that happening again with Obi-Wan, who was like the most orthodox Jedi there was. Mm-hmm. Like I just watched Phantom Menace, and he's
by the book.
He is, yeah. So like Qui-Gon wants to do things a certain way, wants to train Anakin. Obi-Wan's like, I don't think that's a good idea. That's not the Jedi way. Qui-Gon is essentially like, you got to be flexible in certain areas. So at the end of Revenge of the Sith, you have Yoda say, hey, you have training to do. Qui-Gon has figured out how to be a Force ghost, and you need to look into this. And Obi-Wan just turns around and cuts himself off from the Force for 10 years after Yoda telling him that he needs to go train.
That doesn't click for you?
No way.
What the heck's a Force ghost?
Like, what really is a Force ghost,
Is it like he's dead, but he's still there?
You know what a Force ghost is. Come on.
I'm just inferring. Is it just like his body's dead, but he's able to still be around?
Yes.
Boring. Stupid.
That's a original trilogy trope, though.
So you count
Obi-Wan turns into one, Yoda turns into one. BS is that Anakin turns into one, because
BS is in like bull honky?
Yeah.
Like it's stupid?
Because, it's laid out as something you have to like learn how to do. Well, okay. Anakin I can understand more than the most recent sequel movie, the trash. What's it called? Something Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker?
Freaking Kylo Ren turns into a Force ghost at the end of that movie. And you're just like...
I only watched it once, and I forgot the whole thing right after I watched it.
Good for you. That's why, it's so poorly received. And I'm sure Disney would love to make a few billion more dollars. I don't know why they aren't just like, you know what? Never mind. Let's do this again.
We'd like to issue an official Nevermind.
Yeah. Dragon Ball did that.
Really?
Yeah. So in the late 80s, early 90s, there was Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball GT, which the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, only did a couple of, he only did some like drawings for it, and that was it. And then in 2014, 2015, they basically said, you know what? That's not canon. This is. Here's a new TV show. And then they made Dragon Ball Super, and Akira Toriyama was involved with that.
And it was awesome?
And it was pretty good.
I always forget that you are a Dragon Ball stan, and I respect that.
Yeah. I stan.
You stan with Dragon Ball.
I'm just kidding. I get stan now.
If you stan with Dragon Ball, subscribe. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
And thank you for listening.
If you don't, still smash like.
I don't know. I'm going to have to draw the line there.
Okay.
Like, don't do it. don't listen to this podcast anymore. If you don't love Dragon Ball, okay, I'm going to go home and watch it all just to like get on the same level here.
All right.
But hey, pleasure doing radio with you, man.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun today.
I had a lot of fun too. There's a fun thing when you have a business and there's 3 people, because there's kind of 3 different dynamics that can be created. Mm-hmm. This, you and Ross, and me and Ross. Mm-hmm. Is that all 3 of them?
Yeah.
And there's something a little different about all those together. And I guess the 4th is us all together. Mm-hmm. The 5th would be none of us together.
Yes.
That is a 5th dynamic I didn't consider.
Wow.
And then there's 3 more if we're all by ourselves. Whatever.
What? So the no dynamic would be if just like Sam was here and none of us were here. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because we're always with ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
How are you going to be with yourself this week?
Yeah.
Leave that in the comments below.
All right. This is getting really stupid real quick. I love you.
Love ya.